My name is Steve Kaufman. I do pop art, but I do about 14 different art styles. I had my very first show when I was 8. I come from a very unusual family of sculptors and painters, and then at the same time doctors and lawyers. So I have the right brain and the left brain going on. In 1993, I was at a gallery that had the 100 bottles done by Warhol of Coca Cola. It inspired me to start doing Coca Cola paintings, and I've been doing Coke images ever since. This is like the newest thing where I take classical paintings and mix it up with pop art. In some cases, you start with white canvas, and in some cases, I silkscreen and then I paint on top of it. This jacket, I just take a magic marker and I start drawing on it. You know, there's Coke right here. I just enjoy doing what I do.
My name is Gordon Chandler, and I'm a sculptor living in Carrollton, Georgia. I'm very interested in using repurposed material, such as steel and stainless steel, plastics. I've been doing some printing off of objects. Again, these objects tend to be from my life. One of the objects that I use regularly for these prints is the Coke bottle, because it has such a great shape, so recognizable, it's such a world icon, and it does have the embossed letters, which enable me to take the ink off of the bottle and have this recognizable reading as well as the shape of the bottle come through on the print. All of these prints are one of a kind, and because I'm taking them off and putting them directly onto the paper.
My name's Burton Morris. I am known as a post-pop artist, and I love to paint and create icons of popular culture. Ever since I was a kid, I loved comic books and cartoons, and I always was influenced by the colors, the primary colors, and I've always been influenced by great artists such as Andy Warhol, Keith Haring, Roy Lichtenstein. I thought, why not in my style, do something that could really showcase the Coke bottle in a giant way and also make it burst, come to life. And that was my whole goal about the paintings I created. When I think of Coke, I think of the bubbles and the movement and the excitement when you open a Coke bottle. So I wanted to have these bubbles jumping out and popping off the canvas and physically, coming off. So when you approach as a viewer, you're like, wow, it really comes to life.
I started being an artist when I was about 3 years old, I think, and I knew when I was in the 3rd grade that that's what I was going to do. It's my life's work. My mother and father were very much opposed to that kind of thing. They thought it was very peculiar that somebody would draw and paint for a living. So I just waited till they'd gone to heaven, and then I started painting for a living. But I also am known as a portrait painter, and I've done lots of people's portraits. There was a time when the Coca-Cola Company did not want the bottle cut up or the logo disturbed, and I went on and did it anyhow, and now everybody's smiling at it and they like it, and Coca-Cola has warmed up to the fact that the bottle and the logo can be cut and made into an interesting pattern or painting. And I think everybody's matured into that way of thinking.
I was one of those strange little kids that just sat around and drew all the time while everybody else was out doing normal little boy stuff. One of my influences was this guy named Jim Herbert. This guy did these crazy paintings that you couldn't even tell what the subject matter was, and they had these huge brush strokes that were just flying around all over the place, but I thought it was the coolest thing, and it looked like real art. Well, what I do is I actually do it like a coloring book. I start with an outline, I draw it out, and then I just take different primary colors. I start with opposites. So I try to pick the wackiest colors I can to put in there just to make it exciting for the viewer to look at. And then when I do the collage pieces, what I do is I paint the object first, and then I go through and I actually rip up magazines or different print ads, and I actually glue them over the top of the painting. And then I go back and put more paint on top of that to actually blend the collage into the painting.
The Coke bottle to me is a natural icon, probably one of the greatest icons of today's culture. As an artist, the one great thing about a Coke bottle is the history, and I think as also a designer, looking at the Coke bottle itself, it's just very simplistic, very smart graphic object.
Well, it's always been the magic bottle, I think, don't you? I mean, people know it so well. All I have to do is look at the bottle over the years, and it's been the same.
Well, it's American culture. It's American pop art. It's even the bottle shape itself is recognized from one country to another as the shape of Coke.
When I moved here in 1975, you could still find a returnable Coke bottle in the Coke box. So that's very iconic, especially here in Georgia. I love the shape, this sort of filigree, the old shape and texture. Of course, as we all know, it's one of the greatest designs ever made in the world.
There's something, you know, that we take for granted, that the Coke bottle is such a symbol of America and a symbol to the world, that as an artist just looking at this, it has a place in our hearts.
Everybody has a mental association with the Coke bottle. I think about the grooves going down the side of the bottle on the bottom, and then the Coca-Cola script, which is actually embossed into the glass on the older bottles. And it makes the neatest shadows and reflections that you can really dig into. And then when you throw the different colors around all of these reflections and all the different little grooves in there, it's just a fun painting. And I think it brings the viewer into a new way of seeing things.